Alright, what's up guys? We're back here with another movie review, and today we're looking at 1989's The Abyss. I just sat down and watched this movie at about... Damn it. I just sat down and watched this at about, Hold on. My nose is stuffed up. I'm eating some Doritos and cream cheese. Okay. Enough with the ASMR. So yeah, I just sat down and watched this about 2 hours ago. I needed to take a while because this movie is 2 hours and 43 fucking minutes. Yeah, it's that long. It's a long one. I didn't expect it to be that long. But I gotta tell you right off the bat, I had never heard of this movie. It just magically came on my recommended, and it had an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I was very intrigued. And it was a sci-fi genre. I thought it was a horror movie at first, but it's not necessarily a horror movie. But I just gotta say that this movie was made in 1989. It feels like it was made in the early 2000s. This movie is really good. And I mean that with... It's probably gonna get a good rating. I was surprised. Like, this movie is extremely good. I mean, I fucking love it. Now, there were points in the film where I felt like this may not end up as a good ending. But you know what? It did. I didn't give it enough chances, and by the end of the movie, I was very surprised about what happened. Because I had never even heard of this movie. Like, I've never even heard of the title. I hadn't even heard a damn thing about this movie. The only thing I did see was... I do remember this. Watch Mojo put out another top 10 list, and the scene where the chick's looking at this water creature was the thumbnail. That's the only thing that I recognized watching this. So, The Abyss. It follows, well, the movie begins with a U.S. government sub with nuclear devices on it crashing into, oh fuck, how deep was it? I think it was about 1,700 feet into the ocean. Well, I mean 1,700 whatever. If you're an underwater person, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it was 1,700. They went down about 1,700, was it miles or kilometers? I think it was kilometers or something like that. But this thing crashes, and they're trying to figure out how the fuck to get to it. Well, there's this underwater oil rig down there, and I just gotta say, the filming in this movie was done perfectly. I mean, the special effects, they look like early 2000s. This movie was phenomenal. I mean, the entire movie is filmed underwater. No. The one issue I did have with this movie is you cannot see a single damn fish in this entire movie. Like, there's not one fish. It's just like vast ocean. Which is not a bad thing. But yeah. Okay. So it starts off, the government's looking for this sub now because it had like nuclear devices on it. And they didn't want the Russians getting the nuclear devices. So basically, they need to do a rescue mission. The government wants the nuclear devices, and they're trying to see if there's any survivors. Well, there's this underwater rig down there, an oil rig, and it's stationed like 800 kilometers down, and they want them to take their rig and go rescue them. So they agree because they can't disagree, and we get introduced to some of the main characters in the movie. We'll get introduced to more later, but we're just getting introduced to the people on the rig. So first two people we meet are a black woman named something Knight. I think it was Midnight Night something. And she wears a cowboy hat and she likes country. She drives the there's like a separate craft that they use that is attached by a cable on the surface. And I guess it like has grabby hands on it where it can grab stuff. So she drives that thing. And oh, so good. Okay. So she drives this thing. And then we get introduced to one of my favorite characters. He's this real fat guy, and he complains about this whole operation. And he's kind of like the right-hand man of the leader of the rig, which is Ed. And he has a wife named Mary, but she divorced him. And apparently Mary, we'll get to meet her later. She eventually comes down with the Navy SEAL team, because the other characters that show up later in the movie are a Navy SEAL team and his wife. The Navy SEAL team is there to supervise the operation. But yeah. So Ed is the leader of the rig, and he's kind of like, and his right hand man is the guy that was outside. I guess he's diving and helping the chick in the other ship. So they're out there, and then there's also this other guy. He's got like blonde hair, and I don't even know. There's this other guy, and then there's this other guy with a bunch of hair that looks kind of like the right hand man, but not. Those are a couple side characters. And then we got another one of my favorite characters. They call him Hippie. Yes, they actually call him Hippie. And he listens to hippie music. And he has a rat for a pet. Which is awesome. Is there anybody that I missed? That's everybody on the rig. So then, they see. There's a lot of. One problem that this movie has is there's not a lot of character development with the side characters and stuff. Well, there's no real character development except for maybe Hippie, the leader of the Navy SEALs guy, and then Mary and Ed. Those are the only people that they develop, really. And I think this movie suffers from that. Now, it does have an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I don't think it deserves that much. I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10. Well, 8 out of 10. 9 or 8. Maybe that's the right amount, but I feel like this movie suffers from that, definitely. And that's one of the aspects I have to look at when reviewing this. Because character development is a key part to a good story. Character development is supposed to be one of your strong suits. And I feel like that's what doesn't help Thriller, because I more or less rate this as a sci-fi thriller. It's not really a horror movie. It's a thriller. But especially with horror movies, I think most horror movies suffer from that, and it's character development. Character development is one thing horror movies and thriller movies don't really have. Now, there have been some exceptional thrillers out there, like Panic Room, for example. Panic Room has Jared Leto in it from 30 Seconds to Mars, and it's got Winona Ryder. God damn it, that movie is phenomenal. Everything about that movie is just great. And there is a lot of character development in that one. And it's also got Kristen Stewart as a angsty teenager. One of Kristen Stewart's best roles. But that only has 6 characters in it. 6 main characters. And that's a big factor of it. God damn it, that's so good. But that's a big factor of horror and just movies in general. You need to have character development. And that's one of the things that takes this movie down a little bit. And I'm going to tell you right now, this movie is really good, but I'm not going to give it an A+. I don't think it deserves that. If you want an A+, you're going to have to be as good as The Departed, or Casino, or Goodfellas, or Hacksaw Ridge, or Saving Private Ryan. You gotta be fucking good. I mean, you gotta be as good as Revenge. Revenge was a good ass horror movie, okay? That movie was surprised the shit out of me. So, okay. So these people on these oil rig, we get introduced to all the characters, and they get word about this submarine that crashed from the boat that's up on the surface. So they decide to send down a team of 4 Navy SEALs guys and Mary, which is Ed's wife. And then we get introduced to Mary, and we find out that they got divorced and they were having marriage issues. She gets down there. Navy SEAL guys set up. Ed talks to Mary for a while, and we find out that they do still have marriage issues, and she was dating this new guy, and I guess she left him because she realized what she had done, but she still doesn't like Ed. And apparently, again, she built the rig, like that was her design, and someone robbed it from her, I guess. Now, something I need to mention, the reason the U.S. submarine crashed is because they saw something on their radar. So they get down there. Everybody's set up. Multiple arguing scenes between Ed and his former wife. And they begin to move the rig. We get to see some authority issues between Ed and the leader of the Navy SEALs. But the leader of the Navy SEALs has authority to take over. Oh yeah, I forgot. The leader of the Navy SEALs is named Coffee. I do remember that. Yes, his name is actually Coffee. Which I could use some of that right now. I tell you what, Burger King has some good coffee. I'm not dissing on McDonald's frappes or anything, but Burger King has some pretty good coffee. I will say that the rest of this movie is filmed underwater, and it is phenomenal. It truly is fantastic. But I would have liked to see at least a single fish. I'm serious. There is not a single goddamn fish in this entire movie. You don't see one fish not off in the distance. There's no fucking fish. No fish at all. You don't even see a crab or anything. You see nothing. There is no animals. Not even when they do shots of the surface. No fucking animals anywhere. No birds in the sky. It's like they all died. But so everybody's settled in at this point, and they're going down a sub, and authority issues break out, and the coffee puts his foot down and makes everybody go out. And they go down to the fucking submarine or whatever. They get down there. A couple of the rig guys go in with a couple of Navy SEALs. And they go in, they're looking for stuff. And I guess they one of the rig guys, I think it was sorry about that. One of the rig guys, I think it was one of the two side characters. I forget what his fucking name is, but I guess he sees something that scares the shit out of him, and he breathes so much that he goes into comatose. So the other two guys decide to take him out of there. There were 3 people in the sub. They take him out of there, and they take him back to the ship, and he went comatose, so they don't know when he'll wake back up. He wakes back up like randomly through the middle of the movie, and he just shows up, but it works the way that they put him back in, and I feel like that was a great directing choice. But we don't see him for like another hour. But this is about 40 minutes into the 2 hours and 43 minutes of the movie. Yeah. But they bring him back, and everybody's freaking out because that just happened. And something scared the shit out of him. He saw one of the underwater creatures that the submarine had seen before. And he's like, well, what the fuck? Because we're seeing these bright glowing pink creatures, and nobody knows what they are. Are they hostile? Are they not? Well, it scared the shit out of him, and he breathed too much, and it made him go comatose. So then all that shit happens, and eventually Mary is in one of the other submarine divers. I mean, one of the divers that detach from the rig. And she sees a pink thing in the water. And these things make the power go out. And then it disappears. So she tells the rest of the people, and the military guy seems to think that it's a Russian spy or something, like a spy drone. So they decide to... What the fuck are you doing? Stop. So they decide to go... So they inform their higher officer, and they decide... The higher officer decides to go to Plan B. which is to take a warhead and, this is another point of the movie that I didn't get. What the fuck were they going to do with this goddamn warhead? I think it has to do with, like, blowing up the rig or something. Or blowing up the submarine. I don't know, but they take this thing and there's a big hurricane coming in on the surface. And they need Knight's drone ship to attach the storm cables or whatever. But the military guys take Knight's ship and they can't attach the storm things. And they're down here. So they go down and pick up this goddamn warhead and they come back and everything's going to shit on the surface and the cable breaks off the goddamn ship on the surface. And it falls in the water and nearly hits the oil rig. But then it unfortunately falls off the side of the cliff and drags the oil rig down to like 5,000 leagues under the sea. So now they're at 5,000 leagues. And they're down there. So now they're down at 5,000 leagues. And it's all because of the military guys. So in this scene, the ship is going to shit. And we lose one of the military guys and a side character that looked like the right-hand man. Everybody else is still okay. And Hippie manages to save his mouse's life. So, that's fun. But yeah, one of the side characters ends up getting like trapped in a room or something. So, yeah. So now they're trapped down there and they need to figure out a way to get back. There's a bunch of scenes where they're trying to figure out what to do. They find out that the military guys have this warhead in there and they're trying to arm it. Well, the military guys pull out a bunch of guns and they start threatening everybody. And then everybody goes to sleep. Everything gets resolved. Everybody goes to sleep. And, I guess Mary, this creature made of like seawater, shows up inside the ship. It's like a mass of seawater and it can imitate people's faces. And it shows up inside the ship. And it's not hostile, but it looks weird. So Mary sees it and then everybody wakes up and everybody sees it. It's like some kind of creature. And it freaks the shit out of everybody. But they have they study it and stuff, and I guess the military guy shuts a door on one of its appendages, and it makes it crash back into water. It gets pissed off and leaves. But, yeah. So now military guy is all pissy. He takes the warhead and goes all crazy. He decides he's going to take Knight's ship and try to blow up the aliens or whatever. Something like that. Everybody's freaking out because he's locked a bunch of the doors. And he puts... So I forgot to mention that, a second military guy got a shrapnel stuck in his leg while the thing crashed. And he's disabled, but he's still very conscious. He's not dead. And then we also got the medic guy, medic Navy SEAL. So the medic Navy SEAL is in charge of taking, like, I think he's... No, there was 5 Navy SEALs. So one of them dies, and the other guy gets disabled. And then there's the guy that guards the door. So there's a guy that guards the door, and then there's the medic. The medic is actually a good guy. He's the only nice Navy SEAL. So Hippie manages to take out the guard at the door, and the other side character manages to wake up finally because he helped. And so they try to swim and try to stop Coffee. Coffee's going a little bit crazy. So they decide to fucking go chase him, and they manage to meet him up in the bay room, or the launch bay. And him and Ed have a big old fight, and he manages to let everybody in the room, but he gets away too fast, and he takes the warhead with him, but he gets down too deep, and I guess he crashes or something, and the glass to his pod or whatever starts to crack, and the water comes in, and he unfortunately dies. I did kind of like Coffee's character, but he does die here. And, yeah. So now Coffee's dead, and they need a way to manage to get this warhead and fucking disarm it before anything bad happens. So Ed voluntarily gets in a suit and volunteers to dive down to its depth. It was at 25,000 leagues under the sea. Yes, that is pretty fucking deep. But yeah, he dives down to this depth, and fuck it. He starts hallucinating and shit. He gets down there, and he's got 5 minutes of oxygen left. So he disarms this nuke, and he's just sitting there, and you think the main character is about to die here. He's saying he's gonna die. And one point I need to mention, there's a point in this where Mary ends up seeing a large pink object in the water, and it looks like a underwater UFO. So she's thinking it's aliens. And then there is another point where Mary nearly dies. And I will say that scene was pretty intense. They executed it well, and she nearly dies, but she does manage to resuscitate herself. But no, Ed is about to die. He's got 5 minutes oxygen left, not enough time to get back up. Everybody's crying. You think the main character is going to die. That wasn't the case. It really wasn't. So he sees another pink object in the water, and it's like a creature. And I guess it's an alien. And it picks him up. And I couldn't stop laughing. I thought this scene was kind of stupid. The alien is like gliding with him in the air. It's got like his hand next to him. It's so stupid looking. But yeah. I really don't know what else. Oh, damn, I'm continuing the movie plot. What am I talking about? So he gets taken to the alien underwater city, so we get to see the city. And apparently this city is a giant aircraft. And we learn he gets taken in there, and he gets taken into this room with air in it and stuff. So he takes off his helmet, and there's two walls of water, one in front, behind him. The one in front has these creatures in it, and they're looking at him, and they can understand what he's saying. And behind them, they can project their TV images on the wall behind them. And we learn that there are a bunch of tsunamis about to crash into every major city in the world and kill everybody. And he asks why. And we learn that the reason the aliens crashed the submarine is because they don't like to see us killing each other and hurting mankind. And they show like a bunch of explosions and stuff. And Ed pretty much gets it. So, yeah. So, yeah. So, I guess the reason they didn't want to, because the aliens realized that humans have a good side. So they decided to let him go and bring him back to his people. So we're near the end of the movie now. And they just suggested not hurting each other. Just a suggestion. But they decide to the alien ship starts rising out of the water, and eventually it rises up and it picks up the oil rig. Yes, the oil rig is now on top of the alien ship. And then eventually it comes out of water, and now they're back on the surface, and it also manages to pick up the boat on the surface as well. So now this giant fucking alien ship is in the fucking water, and everybody sees it. And there's a big ending where the Ed kisses Mary, and I guess they get back together. And yeah, that is the ending to The Abyss. Oh, The Abyss. What would I rate this? This was a really good movie, but I don't think it deserves an A+. You have to be goddamn good to deserve an A+. You have to have me turning on every turn. It's just, you gotta be perfect. And that's what that category is, for the perfect. I'm gonna have to give this one an A, though. This movie was really good. I really enjoyed this movie. And I was solemnly surprised. I had never heard of it before. Yeah. That's pretty much all I have to say about The Abyss. So remember, leave a comment, like, and subscribe.